Hello everyone. Today I'll show you how to create this interactive Excel dashboard. As you can see, we have several relevant filters that impact the visualizations on the right. Such a dashboard is highly customizable and it can be adjusted to any company's needs. Keep in mind that this dashboard is only created with basic Excel commands and functions without any VBAs or macros. I was using a random data sample about a company's human resources, and this data is not representative of any real company's activities, nor is it trying to imitate it. You can find the primary data set and the final Excel product in the Google Drive link, provided in the video's description. So without further ado, let's begin. First, our data set. The first two columns, the employee ID and full name, are irrelevant to us, so we'll be hiding those. All following columns were in the original dataset, and all of them are important to us. We've also added two additional columns, age range and the work record in days. Without going into much detail, here's the function that I use to find the age ranges in 5-year intervals, using the age column. And here is the function for finding the employee work record in days. With these minor adjustments to our dataset, we are ready to move on. I have created two empty worksheets and called them pivot tables and analysis. For now, let's go to analysis and prepare our canvas for future visualizations. Let's imagine that our company's brand colors are black and orange. We'll stick with this color palette for all of our visualizations and backgrounds. First, I select all cells and fill them with black color. Then I go to View tab and uncheck grid lines. Next, we insert these rounded rectangle shapes as placeholders for our future visualizations. Select No Outline and for the shape's fill, we use this shade of dark gray. Then, I adjust the size of this rectangle and create more copies to fill in the whole sheet. I'll speed this part up. For the wave effect at the bottom, we will first need to insert the wave shape and adjust its size. Next, we will select the gradient fill and have two shades of orange for the two gradient points. We make a copy of the shape and adjust the transparency of both gradient points to about 50%. We then reposition the wave slightly above and skew its shape in a random manner. Finally, we do the same process for the third wave and adjust the transparency to 70%. We then group all three waves into a single object and copy it to fill all the lower gaps in our sheet between the visualization boxes. And finally, we move each of our boxes to front to create an effect of our waves being behind the sheet. We insert two black rectangles and align them with the bottom and the right borders of our sheet. Now we are ready to start creating our charts. We first select our whole dataset. Then we insert a pivot table from selected range. We select existing worksheets, and for the location, we navigate to our pivot tables sheet and select a cell. If you've never worked with pivot tables before, just know that it's a powerful tool that organizes your data in a very intuitive way. As you can see on the right, we have a selection of all of our data columns, and we may manipulate the pivot table by dragging and dropping these columns into either row, column, value, or filter boxes. Let's begin by dragging the age range field into rows and annual salary into values. We'll want this particular table to show the distribution of average salary per age group and the amount of employees in that particular group. For that, we'll need a second field in the values box, so we'll just use the annual salary field once again. For both of these fields, we go to value field settings and change their calculation type to count and to average. I don't like the overwhelming amount of numbers in the average salary column, so I'll round it down and customize the formatting of this particular column so that it displays thousands with the letter K, saving some precious space in our visualization. For that, I select the column, go to Cell Formatting, select More Number Formats, Custom, and write down this custom format type. Next, I go to Pivot Table Options, Totals and Filters, and uncheck both grand total boxes. Now that we've prepared the table, let's create a combo chart for it. Select the table, then insert a simple line chart. Next, go to Design and change chart type to Combo Chart. For the average salary, keep the line chart, and for the employee count, select the stacked area chart and mark it as a secondary axis. Then right-click on one of the field buttons and click Hide All Field Buttons. And then delete the legend and the grid lines. Since this is a combo chart with two vertical axes, deleting one of the axes will distort the whole chart. A simple workaround for this is to select each axis individually and reduce its font size to 1. Click on the stacked area chart and go to Fill Options. Select Gradient Fill and keep only two gradient points. The first point will be filled with the dark orange color we've already used for the waves, and the second one, black. Adjust the transparency of the orange gradient to about 70%. Click on the line chart and select Solid Fill. Select the same dark orange color we've used before. Then, click on the marker options, built-in options, and select the rhomboid shape and adjust its size to 8. Fill it with our usual color, and for the border, select a lighter shade of orange. Right-click on one of the markers and click Add Data Labels. Then, right-click on one of these labels, select Format Data Labels, and change the position to Above. Change the font type to Arial and increase the font size to 10. Adjust the color to a shade of dark yellow. And finally, adjust the font type and size of the horizontal axis labels and change their color to light gray. Cut the chart to our analysis sheet, and in the Format tab, select No Fill and No Outline. Then, adjust the position of the shape to fit the box. I feel like we should increase the font size of our data labels just a little bit. When I feel like I'm satisfied with the chart, I right-click on it and save it as a template, since I'm planning on reusing it in the future. We then insert two transparent text boxes, one for age range salary distribution, the other for total salary expenditures. To display the total salary expenditures, we'll need to create another pivot table. Copy and paste the first table we've made and drag away all column and row fields. Then just add the annual salary value. As a default, it shows the total sum of this field, so there's no need to change it. Since it's going to be a big number, we'll need to change the field format once again. This is the format to show millions with one decimal point with the letter M. To properly display our total salary expenditure, we create another text box. Delete all the contents and write an equal sign in the Formula tab. We then refer to the pivot table sheet and click on the cell next to the one we've just created. Then we manually change the reference point so that it matches our cell. We do this because Excel has problems referring to pivot cell values in different sheets, so this is a simple workaround. Then we simply change the font size and type of our text box. And finally, we insert an icon. Here we type in the keyword money and select the one that is most relevant for us. Once again, we change the fill color and size, and just like that, we finished our very first custom visualization. Our next chart will compare each age group's average and maximum work records. Just like before, we copy our last pivot table and simply change the value field to work record. Adjust the calculations to average and maximum. Then, we round them down to no decimal points and click Insert Chart. We select our previously saved template, and just like that, we save a significant amount of time. Then we simply cut the chart and adjust its position. We copy both text boxes and change their texts. To display the total number of employees, we will once again need to copy one of our pivot tables. No matter the selected field, we just need to change the value calculation to count. Then, we just copy the total salary expenditure text box, and as previously, we refer to the neighboring cell in the Formula tab. We then manually change the reference cell and click Enter. To quickly change the formatting of the text box, we can simply use the Format Painter function from our previous text box and click on our new text box. Next, we insert an icon. This time we search for term people. We find the one that suits us the most and insert it. After adjusting the color and size, we're done with our second visualization box. For our next chart, we will compare each department's average yearly bonuses. We first create a new pivot table. For rows, we select business department, and for values, we select bonus. We change the calculations to average and adjust the formatting of the cells to display percentages. Next, we insert the radar chart type and delete all the unnecessary objects. Click on the line inside and select Fill options. We will use a gradient fill with 3 points. The first point a mild shade of yellow, second orange, and the last one black. Change the gradient type to radial and direction from the center. Next, adjust the color of the grid lines to mild orange and change the category font color, size, and style. Then add the data labels and change their position to be inside the grid line borders so that they don't overlap with the category names. Disable the shape's outline and borders and cut it into our dashboard box. Add the text box and an appropriate icon. I want to add some more bonus related information to this box. First, I want to display the top 3 most frequent bonus amounts. For that, we'll create another pivot table, drag bonuses to rows and values. Change data to count and adjust the cell formatting to general. Then we sort largest to smallest, and in the neighboring cells, we refer to the top 3 non-zero percentage bonuses and their values. This way, even if we change the data, it still shows the relevant 3 bonus sizes. Once again, we add a text box for the most frequent bonuses. Then we add 3 additional text boxes containing only the bullet symbol. Then, in Shape Format tab Arrange Group, we align them vertically and align their center points. We repeat this process for the value text boxes, only this time we're not writing any text in the text boxes. Instead, we refer to the values in the Formula tab. Notice that this time we can refer to the cells in another sheet directly, because these values are not in a pivot table. I also want to show the biggest bonus given out. For this, we will simply need to find the maximum value in our bonus column and refer to it in the Formula tab, just like we've done several times before. For our next visualization, we'll show how different ethnicities are distributed across all 3 countries that our company operates in. By this point, you already know the drill. We will need to create a new pivot table for this. Our rows will represent the different ethnicities. However, this time we will adjust our values differently. In Value Field Settings, we click the Show Values As tab. Here, we select the percentage of column total. Finally, we put our country field into the Filters tab and select the first country. We repeat this process for all 3 of our countries. Let's create a donut chart for our first country. First, we insert the donut chart. Then, we delete all the unnecessary objects. Leave the legend and place it at the bottom. Now, we'll adjust the colors of all the slices. Each slice will have 2 color gradients, starting from black, ending in a variation of orange and yellow colors. Once we select the color, we adjust the angle of gradient rotation so that it is consistent with all the slices. Next, we add data labels and adjust their font size, style, and color. Make sure it's light. Then we remove the chart outlines and save it as a template. We cut the chart and place it in its box in our dashboard. Then we adjust the position and size of our donut. We do the same process for the 2 remaining countries. This time, however, we can use our saved template. Once we create our donut charts, We delete their legends, adjust their size, align them all vertically, and align their center points. We place a text box in the center of each donut chart and write down the country name's abbreviation. And finally, after we add the name, we're officially done with this visualization. For our next visualization, we'll want to display the top 5 most common job titles. As always, we create a new pivot table. For rows, we select job title, and for values, we just leave count. Then, we sort these columns from largest to smallest. And finally, we refer to the first 5 job titles and their count values in the neighboring cells. We insert a bar chart and, as always, delete all the unnecessary objects. Then, we decrease the gap width to 50% and adjust the fill to 2-point gradient, one point black, the other orange. Next, we add the data labels and display them at the inside base. We change their font style to Arial and color to light gray. We do the same for the axis labels, only this time we make them orange. After that, we disable the chart fill and outline options to make it transparent. And finally, in the Format tab, we select our vertical axis. We go to Axis Options and tick Categories in reverse order. This way, the most common job titles will be at the top. Now we just cut the chart to our dashboard and adjust its position. Of course, don't forget to add the visualization name and the relevant icon. Our next visualization will show the average and total salary distribution across all cities. We create a new pivot table with city rows and 2 salary values, one for average, one for sum. We then format these columns with our previously created custom formatting rules. Averages will be displayed in thousands with the letter K, sum in millions with the letter M. We insert our previously created combo chart template. Then we go to the Design tab and click Change Chart Type. We change the second chart type from stacked chart to bar chart. As always, we change the chart fill to 2-point gradient, only this time we make one of the points slightly transparent. We cut and paste the chart to our dashboard, adjust its size and position, and finish up by adding the title and a relevant icon. Our final chart will be a map. There's several different ways to create map charts in Excel, and the method that I'm going to show you today is only available in the latest Excel version, Office 365. It is a built-in method that works well with well-known geographical locations. However, it won't be an option for older version users. In other videos, I will cover alternative methods that will work well in all Excel versions, but for now, we'll go the easy route. We first create a pivot table with country rows and average work record value. We then round these values down to no decimal points and create a reference point for each of these cells in the neighboring columns. Then we click the Insert tab and Insert Map. Just like that, we've got ourselves a world map. We click on the map's legend and on the right side we select Series 1. We then select the series color and select two orange shades, one lighter and one darker. Next, we delete the legend and add data labels. We make the labels light and change their font style to Arial. We disable the outline of the chart and fill it with the same dark gray shade as our dashboard boxes. Then we cut the chart to our dashboard. Keep in mind that this chart type is very demanding on Excel's resources, and it might slow down your whole file, as you can see in my case. From here, it's just a matter of adjusting the size and scale of our map. Also, don't forget to add the name text box and an appropriate icon. Now that we're done with our visualizations, our dashboard is lacking just one last thing: an intuitive way of accessing different slices of information, for example, only display relevant data of a certain demographic group or gender. Fortunately, pivot tables have a built-in tool just for that, and it's called a slicer. To create a slicer, we first select any of our previously created pivot tables. Then, go to Insert and click Slicer. Let's first select a gender slicer and click OK. Cut and paste the newly created slicer into our dashboard and arrange its position. Notice something interesting. If we click on the slicer's options, it only affects one of our visualizations. This is because we created the slicer from a specific pivot table, and by default, it is only connected to that table. To fix this, right-click on the slicer and then go to Report Connections. As we can see, it is only linked to its original pivot table, so we'll have to manually check all the remaining tables. Keep in mind that it is best practice to give each of your pivot tables unique names so that you can easily refer to them in the slicers. However, for such a small dashboard, we can ignore this. Now note that all of our visualizations adjust to the slicer's filter. Customizing the appearance of a slicer is a rather tedious task, so let's just jump straight into it. First, click on the slicer. Then in the Slicer tab, note that there are different slicer styles. For this task, I've created a custom style, so I'll show you all the options I had to adjust to create it. When creating a new slicer style or modifying an existing one, we're met with this table. If we want our slices to have different style patterns when they're selected or unselected, we have to adjust the styles of these options separately. As you can see, there are many different scenarios for a slicer to have a unique style, but for this dashboard we're only interested in the following four: whole slicer, selected item with data, unselected item with data, and hovered unselected item with data. We're not interested in items with no data, as we're planning to simply not show such data in the first place. First, we select the whole slicer option and click Format. We keep the font style Arial, select its size and color. We'll make it dark orange. Keep the border tab as it is, and for the fill, we'll use our custom dark gray fill, so that the slicer matches the box it is on top of. For selected items with data, we want to increase the font size so that it stands out. For the fill option, we will use a custom lighter shade of gray so that it is easier to understand which slice is selected. For unselected items with data, we simply want to change the fill color to black. If we don't adjust any font options, it will remain the same as specified in the whole slicer option. So let's keep it like that. I also forgot to disable borders in the whole slicer option, so let's quickly fix that. And for hovered unselected items with data, we want to make it stand out, so we'll change the fill color to bright brownish. We set this custom style as default for this Excel workbook, click OK, and just like that, our slicer blends in with the dashboard much more. Next, we go to Slicer Settings, select Hide Items with no data, and unselect Display Header. After that, it's just a matter of adjusting the position of our slicer, adding the name, and a relevant icon. Now that we've saved our style as default, we can simply insert our remaining two slicers for business and city. We cut and paste them into our dashboard and adjust their position. As always, don't forget the box name and the icon. For the business unit slicer, we simply connect all the pivot tables just like we've done with the gender. However, our city slicer will be different. Think about it. It wouldn't make sense for the world map visualization, the city salary combo chart, and for the country ethnicity chart to react to this slicer, as it would only display a single point. So we'll need to connect this slicer to all the tables except the ones referring to this visualization. To achieve this, we need to know the names of these pivot tables. We click on each table individually, and in the Pivot Table Analyze tab, we look at the name of that table at the top left corner. We quickly go through all these names and memorize them. This is exactly why I previously mentioned that for larger dashboards, with more pivot tables, we need to name each pivot table so that we won't have to memorize them every time. We want our city slicer to have a multiple select option. For that, we briefly uncheck the slicer header, select the multi-selection icon, and then hide the header once again. After that, our dashboard is only lacking a company logo at the top left corner. We can play around with the visual settings of this dashboard to achieve the desired look. However, this video is already very long, so I'll stop here. Hopefully, you've understood how easy it is to create a visually appealing dashboard by only using Excel. In my next videos, I'll go through a similar process of creating a dashboard in Google Sheets, since it is a more common corporate environment for Excel spreadsheets. Thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to leave a comment on how bad my audio was. I promise to fix it in the next video. See you there.